ordered me to live here on March 30th, 2026. Peter K-R-U-C Z-E-K. He is a corrupt cop. He is a corrupt cop. He is a corrupt cop that broke the law and publicly tried to cause my death and blame it on homelessness. And he must be arrested. He must be in the law for breaking the law. Peter K-R-U-C Z-E-K. He is a corrupt cop, and you promoted him for breaking the law. What was his motive? His motive was P.C. Kerr, and the investigator of P.C. Kerr, who I put on trial in the Superior Court of Ontario, and it turned out the Superior Court of Ontario ruled that P.C. Kerr, the investigator of my complaint, lied. Found these two cops guilty of lying, and I also put their overseer, the OIPRD, on trial in Superior Court of Ontario. And Peter K-R-U-C-Z-E-K laid false criminal charges he knew was not true, no evidence, impossible to be true, and ordered me banned from my home here, ordered me on the street in the freezing cold in a pair of shorts and a mesh shirt. And then in turn, the two officers said, my dog, Hennessy, 14 years old, thank you. They were going to put the dog to the Humane Society, and the dog was a victim of abuse. And I knew if the dog went to the Humane Society, they would have put the dog down. So the two so-called arresting officers, who also break the law, made a deal. They said you can go through the court system, or you can walk out on a Form 10 today. This is on a charge of arson, endangering animals, endangering humans. And in turn, if I agree not to go back within 500 meters of my home, where I at Toronto Housing on trial also in the human rights, the Landlord and Tenant Tribunal for corruption, where I was in the Supreme Court of Canada, Canada's highest court, as the applicant on behalf of the people against the City of Toronto and against Olivia Chow, contested her appointment to the office of mayor as an illegal act. And at that, yes, dog, they will never order you homeless. Shouldn't you, brother? Yes, I love you, and dogs are family, and you will have rights before I become mayor. You can't say dogs don't have rights. Dogs have rights because they are family. They're a part of our household. They should be put on our lease, and if they're ill and the people are poor and don't have the money, they must get free medical care. They must be covered under the Ontario Health Act because dogs are family and they must be taken care of. And that's what Khrushchev did, ordered me and my dog homeless to the streets. And no food, no water, none of that. And another corrupt cop came and threw away the dog food, the dog leash, and everything. But you'll find more on my YouTube channel, Kevin Clark for Mayor, or on my Linktree, Facebook, and Twitter. I love you animals, because there's no such thing as a bad dog. The bad ones.
I've been up for 4 days right now. I'm not in the mood to start changing. I'm not even changing.
Have a great day.
Okay, but we're gonna catch again.
We're catching again. Bless you. Stay safe. Take care of the dogs, brother.
I am calm.
I got you. Love you, brother. One love. Drive safe. God bless. So Khrushchev ordered that if I agree to take a Form 10 and I agree to walk off the property, and that's coming in 500 meters. Have a great day, brother. God bless. They will allow me to walk off the property with the dog. Now, how do you know this was corrupt? Because I was charged for endangering animals. You're telling me you agree to give an animal back to a man who you're criminally charged for endangering an animal? He's a 22-year detective. You're telling me that you would condone a 22-year detective ordering a man, charging a man for arson, charging a man for endangering animals, and in turn, if that man agreed to let them get away with doing this criminal act of saying that he committed an arson, that he deliberately lit a cigarette, threw it in the bedroom, closed the door at 2:45 p.m. on March 30th, 2025, and in turn, he changed his mind within 15 minutes, then ran and got a fire extinguisher and tried to put out the fire. Killed his 2 cats, but in turn, he ran into the fire to save the dog. Does that make any common sense? Or does it make sense that P.C. Kerr and the investigator of the complaint I filed against P.C. Kerr, the ones who I took to the Superior Court of Ontario, they were found guilty? Does it make sense that Khrushchev broke the law, laid these false criminal charges to do a favor to these 2 cops who were found guilty in court of lying? And in turn, I heard by another officer that Khrushchev was promoted to the head of the division of 43 Division. Which makes more sense? The man who was the applicant in the Superior Court of Ontario against 2 cops and their overseer, the applicant in the Supreme Court of Canada against the City of Toronto, and appointed Mayor Olivia Chow at that time, and the man who was in the Human Rights and Landlord and Tenant Tribunal against Canada's largest housing corporation. Would you believe that he lit a cigarette at 2:45 p.m. March 30th and deliberately burned down a room in his home from the living room while the door was closed? Or would you believe that Khrushchev broke the law when he laid false criminal charges, and that was to do a favor to protect these 2 cops who were found guilty of lying in Ontario's highest court? You decide. We will not have all cops with badges break the law and in turn try to publicly cause the death of Canadian citizens. And Peter KRUCZEK, the evidence is worse than overwhelming. The evidence is undisputed, and he must be arrested, because for an officer with a badge to deliberately break the law by laying false criminal charges that he knew there was 0 evidence and it was impossible to prove. The only evidence he produced was that my statement that I lit a cigarette in the living room, stand under a smoke sensor inadvertently when the alarm went off, and after I put out the cigarette, I smelled something. And when I checked everywhere, the only place was to check was the room of the homeless man who was staying. And when I opened the door of that room, a tsunami of smoke nearly killed me. From there, I ran, pressed the fire alarm. I ran to get the smoke thing to put out the thing, but there was too much smoke. And in turn, I ran and informed everyone that there was a fire. That was what I told the officer. The officer said, oh, he lit a cigarette and deliberately burnt down the place, tried to burn it down, and then he ran back in and got a smoke detector to try and put it out. And that was the allegation in court. And after 9 months, the judge demanded that they produce a fire marshal report and all sorts of emails to the fire marshal, and the fire marshal did not appear. The fire marshal did not provide any reports. They even sent all that to Khrushchev, and in turn, they would not produce it. But in turn, Khrushchev said he laid these charges using the fire marshal report. But when the courts demanded that Khrushchev produce the fire marshal report, he said that he didn't have it. And in turn, when we contacted the fire marshal or the fire department, they said the person in charge was on vacation or on holidays. And the judge gave them 3 weeks for them to produce the fire marshal report. And when that 3 weeks was over, they came into court and say, oh, the person in charge of that is on vacation. When the judge was shocked, he just said, oh, this ain't right. Something's wrong with this. They said, well, when will he be back? Oh, tomorrow, the day after the 3 weeks. Will you be able to have a report then? Well, no, we can at least get an update. This was a 521-story apartment building, and a room in there. And you're telling me that 7, 8 months after it, You could not produce the report that you used to lay the false criminal charges. The case is unprecedented and it is damaged, and the evidence is undisputable because it's in the court of law already. The charges were withdrawn when the fire marshal did not show up. And after the judge put it over and over, the judge says, Mr. Clark is right. This is a travesty of justice. And when he went to the court, the Crown says, Your Honor, I am shocked, I am appalled. And the charges are dismissed. I was allowed back to my home after 9 months, but now my dog has lost his leg because he was out there for 9 months in snowstorms, in heat wave, in rain. Could not find any shelters that would take me or the dog. And there was underneath that bridge, there was over 20 fires that were set. And the person who was able to stop all these fires was me. If I wasn't there, a lot of people would have been dead. Thank God Khrushchev broke the law, but now he must be held accountable. To God be the glory. For some reason, the phone won't turn on. No one is above the law. Not even if you have a badge. Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive thy King. Now let's see how long this chalk mark will stay. If Khrushchev didn't break the law, then he wouldn't object to it, but this is where I was ordered to live. Come on. Stop this phone. Turn off the phone.